All the materials provided in this interview are for informational, educational, or entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to be or serve as a substitute for professional, medical, or mental health advice, examination, diagnosis, or treatment. Welcome to Healing Doorways, a place to explore different subjects to expand our human consciousness. I am your host, Alicia Marcano. And today I have a very special guest, Susan Rodio. Susan is a professional astrologer, a psychic medium, a tarot and oracle reader, an artist and jewelry maker with more than 10 years of experience. Susan is going to tell us about why the energy for 2020 was so dense and what to expect in 2021. I hope you enjoy this interview. Hi, Susan. Welcome to Healing Doorways.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's an honor to have you here. I've been looking forward so much for this interview. It's the last interview of 2020. And how's it been 2020 for you?
For me personally, look, not too bad. I've been very blessed that, my business has been very busy. I've been personally, doing well with work, but it's been a very hard working year. I can say that, like I've been working extremely hard. But there has been a lot of anxiety in the air and a lot of stress in the air because of what's going on in the world. So I have definitely felt that, with lockdowns and everything that's been going on, I've definitely felt the strain at times. And yeah, it's just been a time of, I guess, some uncertainty with a lot of change, but knowing the astrology does help, so I can say that.
Yes, I can see that. 2020 it's been such a funny year. It's been so bad for so many people, but it's been a blessing for others. In my case, it's been a blessing because I get to spend more time with my family, and I started this project that has been in my head since 2017.
Oh, wow, so, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been good. But I think everyone agrees that we kind of want the 2020 to be over very quickly.
Definitely. Yeah.
We have so many expectations for 2021, and that's what I brought Susan here with us. Susan is going to talk about what this 2021 looks like according to the planets and the stars. And yes, what can we expect?
Okay, so, just to sort of talk about a little bit why 2020 with the astrology was so heavy and still feels so heavy is because Jupiter is a planet of good feelings, good vibes, growth, positivity. It's been in the worst placement. It's been in Capricorn. And anyone that knows astrology knows that, Jupiter in Capricorn is very heavy energy. Jupiter can't grow and expand and feel the joy in that sign. It's known as, in astrology terminology, it's known as being in fall, which means it's not a good energy for Jupiter to grow. So we all as a collective feel this energy of restriction, of, repression and heaviness. And, Jupiter in Capricorn is very much about hard work and things going very slowly as well, very slowly. So Capricorn energy is about time. It's about, on Earth, we feel the slowness of time. And so it has been a very slow energy. So the good news is Jupiter is moving out of Capricorn, where it's not well placed, into Aquarius. So that's going to be a totally different energy. And it's an air sign for one. So the movement with Jupiter and Aquarius together is going to be much faster. There's going to be this energy of things picking up. Now, that said, we will get relief, but the only thing is we will have Jupiter and Saturn conjunction. So Saturn rules Capricorn and is the government, the structures of the world, things that take time. So with those two together, we will see growth at times that is quick, but we will also see Jupiter and Saturn having to work together with each other, which can, for some people, will, depending what your personal chart is, it's going to feel different for everyone. But in the collective, there's going to be this push forward for growth, but also I feel the individual and freedoms clashing a little bit with the authorities and with the old things that people, want to see change, positive change, but it might be a bit slow as well. So the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is the most kind of when it's closest together, those two together, is December 2020, so at the end of this year, and late January 2021.
Wow.
Those times we will feel this energy most intensely, because that's when it's very closely conjunct. Those two planets will be very close in the sky. So at those times, we may feel some anxiety as things are going through a transition again. It's different. It's going to be overall, for especially if you're an air sign, if you're an Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra, and personally, or if you have those placements in your chart, it's going to be a year of a lot of growth for you, for those people personally. But you know, it's a conjunction. So when there's a conjunction between two planets, it can somehow, the energies can get absorbed into each other and merge. So, you know, the things that, how do I explain this? The way Spirit has showed it to me in terms of an analogy is Jupiter is like a dog on a leash. It's like the dog wants to run free, but that person holding the leash is like the authorities and the government and the things, not just the government as such, but the things that are already in place in our world that have been there for a long time. Jupiter in Aquarius wants to grow and go fast, but that leash is kind of like, hang on, you've got to slow down. We're not quite ready to implement all these big changes like super fast. We need to make sure that these changes work within the structure that we have as we grow slowly. So does that make sense? I know there was a lot of information, but
no, it makes perfect sense. I think we're starting to kind of see that at the moment with all the protests going on in United States, even here in Australia.
Yeah,
people
definitely.
like fighting for equality and
exactly. And that's what Aquarius energy is. Aquarius is freedom, it's liberation, and Jupiter is also about those things. So Jupiter in Aquarius is definitely a push towards growth, freedom, liberation. Freedom of expression is going to be a big thing, to be able to speak your truth, to be able to freely express your truth. But then Saturn squaring that is like, well, you know, people are going to feel the pressure, like, oh, maybe I have to be careful what I say. But at the same time, it's almost like this energy of trying to work within the existing structures that are in the world. And Jupiter will be, in Aquarius, will be branching out through technology. So people will find alternative ways of expressing themselves. If there are restrictions on one platform, people are going to move to other platforms online, as an example of how this will work. Because even though Saturn is restricting Jupiter, Jupiter will still be pushing to grow. So as those energies work together. So we will see a little bit of this energy of kind of like, another analogy could be like pregnancy. It's like feeling, you know, that there is growth that really wants to happen, but you have to be a bit patient with it. So, but as I said, it is a better energy compared to Jupiter and Capricorn. Personally, I think it's much better. It's going to feel lighter for people. It's not going to feel as heavy as it's felt.
It can get heavier than it was.
No, it just really can't, because not only did we have Jupiter in Capricorn, but we had Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn in 2020, which was just such a heavy energy. And it's like lead. It's just very with Pluto, which is such a heavy energy, and Saturn, yeah, it's just a lot of people just felt completely overburdened and completely overwhelmed. So when Jupiter in December moves into, it's actually December 18th, we can look forward to that date. Jupiter will be in Aquarius then, so you'll feel a sense of,
I'm going to write it down. So,
yes, write it down, definitely. December 18th, 2020, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. So, you know, as I said, Jupiter and Saturn will be conjunct in December and January. And so even though there will be a lightening of energy, we might find that there's a bit of a shift of energy as well, where we start to feel a bit more in our heads. Because the reason I say that, Aquarius is an air sign. So air tends to focus more in the mind and the mental plane. So we might find that we start to really be thinking a lot of, you know, whatever it is for you personally, whatever's important to you. But Jupiter in Aquarius is all about ideologies as well. It's about what is the ideal, what is the best outcome for people's freedoms, for people's liberation. And then Saturn, as I said, is like, well, it has to be realistic though. We can't just go to an extreme, because there's going to be probably a backlash. So we have to try and work with what we've got, still speak up, but, you know, not doing it in some kind of way that creates an extreme backlash. But it definitely can be a revolutionary energy as well with these energies at play. And there's also another thing going on in the background, which is the Saturn square Uranus transit, which will be new for 2021. So with this energy, it's also a similar energy, you know, a struggle between the existing powers that be and Uranus and Saturn. Uranus is about freedom and liberation, and Saturn is about restrictions and control. So yeah.
Wow, what a year to come. But at least I think it'll be much better for everyone.
Yeah,
energetically.
I think so too. It's going to be more dynamic, I feel like, whereas everyone felt quite repressed in 2020, there's more energy to work with here in 2021. There's more, I feel there's more movement and more progress, more leeway. And it's just interesting to note the last time in history, like just most recently, that we had these energies was around the year 2000. So if you think back to, I mean, you could do your own research on certain things around that time, but the year 2000, it was a big turning point. It was the beginning of a new millennium. So there is also this energy with Jupiter and Aquarius about going to another level vibrationally and spiritually. A lot of spiritual growth happening now. Because again, Aquarius is this idealism and something higher. You know, it's Capricorn, we just had that. That's the earth plane that's dealing with very real things in the earth plane. This coming energy is going to be about more spiritual energies, awakening energies, and going to another level. And I really do feel with Jupiter and Aquarius, there is this feeling of you are creating your own vibration and through your thoughts, because Aquarius is the airwaves, it's the mental plane, but it's the higher mental plane. So it's to do with telepathy. People will have increase in telepathy on a personal level. There'll be increase in you know, different types of communication that are faster, that are more dynamic and even more spiritual. So I do feel things like if you are psychic, you might notice more clairaudience, because it's, again, the mental level, more telepathy, picking up on other people's thoughts, increase in psychic ability on that level. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I'm very excited about that. I would love to develop all my clairvoyant senses. They kind of come and go, but they don't really stick around too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think with like anything, a lot of people with that type of thing, either they work on it slowly over time, or sometimes you have like something that happens that really awakens it suddenly. But I do feel as a collective, we're in a turning point where a lot of people can awaken more now because of Jupiter moving into Aquarius. As I said, it's lifting up that, sparking up that energy of higher level communication. So it's almost like it's going to be easier to become telepathic with this energy. Definitely more so in comparison to Jupiter and Capricorn. So yeah.
Maybe it's the year that we're going to make public the existence of other beings in other planets.
It could be, yeah, because Aquarius is all about the unusual as well, and about things that are outside of the box, not the norm, not the mainstream things. So yeah, it is exciting for that. There's so much potential with Jupiter and Aquarius, because Aquarius is a very open energy. It doesn't have the boundaries that Capricorn has and the restrictions. So, you know, it's like there will be in everyone's individual personal experience, especially spiritually, this kind of seeking of new information, seeking of truth. That's those two together. Jupiter and Aquarius is very much about finding the truth, seeking out the truth about things, but in a very spiritual focus, not in a darker way, in a kind of just a fascination and a need to understand the bigger picture.
And I think people are, after this 2020, everybody got a big pause. I think people are more aware or more conscious about the impact they're having others. People are thinking about more the collective rather than themselves. And little by little, I think we are becoming more awake, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, as I said, with this energy, it's going to push that, you know, further. And also with Saturn involved, it's also going to make it more real. So what I'd say about that is people's spiritual path is going to become more a real thing as part of their life. It's not just going to be a thought or an idea. It's going to become more with involved with the Saturn realm, which is the real life realm, because Saturn and Jupiter together. So yeah.
Susan, what are your thoughts about the Earth actually changing to another dimension? Are you heard of that? That we now getting
I've
into
heard
the
of things like that.
dimension?
Sure. What are my
Sorry,
thoughts on that?
It's not in the subject, but I just
no, that's fine. No, that's fine. Yeah, what are my thoughts on that? Well, you know, it's interesting because I was actually going to say something about, I think I sort of touched on it before. The change in vibration, it starts with you, the individual, and then the vibration that you create. So think of it, I always think of it like this, and it's kind of not directly answering your question, but I will get more into that. But say, for example, you live next door to somebody, and you know, in your home you have absolute peace, or you know, for the most part you have harmony. You want to have that sense of peace. Your home is not a destructive, negative, or dark place. It's a positive sanctuary for you to enjoy your life, and you feel very happy in your home, right? But then say your next door neighbor, to go to some extreme, is like in a very dark place, and you know, they could be a drug addict, say, right? So see how like you can be having in your own zone one certain vibration that's very real to you, and then the person next door to you, just as an example, is in their own vibration of their making. So we all are, I think, with Jupiter in Aquarius now, going towards having more of this awareness of how am I creating my reality through my thoughts, through my patterns, through my behaviors. Every day it accumulates, and you know, it starts with the emotional patterns from the past, and if you don't heal those things, then it can become very heavy in your reality. And if you don't challenge yourself to raise your vibration, but it takes awareness to do all that. So yes, I feel that the idea of ascension is slowly the collective coming more on board to realize that the very dark things of this world are not where as a collective we want to be at. But that takes a lot of time to shift into that. But it's a long cycle. I don't think it's like an overnight thing where suddenly, oh, the earth has ascended. I think it's going to take many, many, many years. But it's empowering to know. What's empowering is to know that you can create your own vibrational frequency in your own experience, and not that it's isolated. It ripples out and affects other people. So when you have a good vibration, and it's not about being perfect or anything like that, it's about carrying that energy of, okay, well, I'm aware that choosing better for myself impacts the next person, and even in subtle ways, and it just all ripples out, and it has like that effect. It's like a ripple effect, right? So I hope this is making sense to answer your question, but
yeah,
it's about the individual and how
all realities collide.
Yeah, how we're all connected to each other.
Everyone lives their own reality, and that's a fact. I cannot. I don't know. For some reason, I've always been aware of the importance of your thoughts and your words from very early age, and I always been very conscious about it. And every time I have so many like as a customer service jobs in the past, and the person next to me always get the arrogant, the terrible, and make them cry. It was awful, and I always got the very nice people, really grateful. Oh, thank you. So definitely, everyone make their own reality, and it doesn't mean that that reality is wrong. It's still a reality for them. So
that's right, exactly. No, it's not that it's wrong. They're just on their own journey. But what I'm saying is, with the change, with this idea of ascension, I think it's just that more and more people gradually getting on board to become self-aware in the way they interact, and to come from the heart more rather than the lower mind. And you know, I mean, the earth is not a perfect place, and what I'm talking about is almost a very Aquarian utopia type idea. But I do think eventually our world will become, and when I say eventually, it could be hundreds of years. Yeah. I don't know, but it's not going to be overnight, that's for sure. It's going to become more where people are more in tune with the heart center and more with the spiritual energy that is more like less about judgment and hurting others, and more about a loving energy and embracing, and you know, and it sounds very idealistic, but we're not there yet. That's why it sounds, you know, a bit too like, oh, that's not, you know, how could that happen? But I think that's where humanity is evolving. That's my personal view. Other people might have completely different, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I've kind of been feeling that too. I've been talking to a lady that has QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis, and she talks about the new earth and what's the humanity moving to, and well, she said it wasn't far away, so we'll see. Maybe it's in
really?
our lifetime. Yeah.
When you said, oh, really? Interesting. Like in the next, what, 30 years?
Well, some people say it's in the next 2, but some people say there's a lot of souls waking up already in New Earth.
En masse, now. Yeah.
I'm not sure if because a lot of people have been dying lately, and not only for coronavirus, but other things. And yes,
yeah,
they're waking up in this new Earth. So I don't know, maybe something is happening at the moment.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think these things happen in stages and phases, and there's definitely like with the Pluto, Capricorn, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Capricorn that we just had last year, that was symbolically an ending to a very old energy that's been around on the earth for a long time, a very heavy and dark energy. And yes, that makes so much sense what you're saying. These new souls coming in are much more enlightened. And even if you see children today, and you know, I have a child. Do you have children?
I have 2, yes.
You have 2, yeah. They're different. They're more in tune. They're more aware of their heart. They're more hearts. Their heart center is more open.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a difference with what they're coming in here to do. And yeah, there is a shift, and it'd be interesting. It would be great if this shift happened more quickly. I think it's going to take a little bit longer, but to get to something very ideal. But I think we're trying to get there, and I think that's the struggle that's going to be going on. And I see it in the astrology with the Saturn Uranus square, authority versus liberation, freedom, and you know, those energies are like trying to jostle for this shift, this change. And yeah, you can see it in the astrology, trying to go towards freedom, a lighter vibration, a higher vibration, and still having to work with the existing structures, but they're changing and implementing changes. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I definitely feel 2021 is a much more dynamic energy overall.
Well, Susan, we have like 5 minutes left. Is there any message that you want to leave for all the people that are listening to us? Any advice? Or what are your thoughts?
Okay, well, for 2021, you mean?
Yes, for 2021, or to start doing from this month.
One thing that I will say for certain is your thoughts are going to be so important. With Jupiter in Aquarius and Saturn in Aquarius, as I said, that rules the mind and thinking. And so if, you know, you've been struggling with the way you think, your belief system has been bogging you down or anything like that, this is going to be the time to really address that and look at what are your thoughts creating and what is your vibration creating, and you know, taking that personal responsibility for that, because as I said, it does affect everybody around you. And so yeah, that's one of what I feel most strongly. But yeah, I always like to say, you know, with these energies, as I said in the beginning, the people that are going to have a lot of growth in their life this year, those people that have a lot of Aquarius energy in their chart, in their astrology, with your Aquarius sun, moon or rising, this is not, you know, it's not just like a bit of change. This is like a massive life change for those people. So because Saturn and Jupiter being both in those signs. So Aquarians can expect big changes this year. Geminis and Libras will find a lot of support and growth as well. But yeah, those are the signs that are most affected this year as well. And also Taurians, but they've been being affected for a while now with Uranus in Taurus, a lot of change for the Taurus people as well.
That's awesome. And Susan, what's the best way to find you on your social media?
Yeah, so you can find me everywhere. I have a business page on Facebook, which is Susan Rodio, Professional Astrologer, Psychic Medium. You can find me on YouTube. I have 2 different channels. One is mostly astrology and spiritual discussion. That's just Starlight Oracle. And then I have a weekly astrology update and pick a card reading that I do, which is under StarlightOracle weekly readings, and then Instagram, which is Susan Starlight.
All right. Well, we leave all the details on the description below. And Susan, thank you so much for all your wisdom. It was a pleasure to have you. Yes, thank you so much for making space. And
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to talk to you and lovely to meet you as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And for you, friends, I'll be back in 2021, probably in February, with more interviews to expand your consciousness. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in 2021. Have a good day. If you like this video, there's 3 things you can do for us. You can give us a like, you can share it with someone that might find this information helpful, and you can also hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. Thanks for your time.